boop boop doo.
What up, Cyber Fam, Fanbots galore, and Fam Americans, of course, Odesians over there on Odyssey. Hey, everybody, what's up? Sorry, Prostate. It's Wednesday, and you heard of Timma. She's jamming with us tonight. That's right. Hey, there we go. What's up? It's Accelerated Deconstruction is the show. Where we look at all things terrifying and woke, and woke and terrifying, and terrifyingly woke. And of course,
started doing it before it was cool.
I'm the smooth brain of the operation. The smart people are called Atima Dahan
Hey, everybody.
and Exhale.
Herder.
All right, so shit, what's everybody been up to?
Oh, you know, those things.
Yeah.
I've been driving. I've spent the last, I don't know, week driving all over northeastern Oregon, and this is a very hard place to find a house, y'all. This is a really crazy place, I'll tell you. It's so. Yeah, that's been my week, has been making phone calls and doctor's appointments and yeah.
Right.
Just life. Just so busy because it's life. And I have 3 kids in the house still, so it's not like I get to sit on my butt and do much.
Say to everybody out there in Chatville, I see Becca Fairley, what up? Uzi Q, my love. Smoke Steve, Modus Operandi, Fetty King, Bruce Calhoun. Holy shit, madness. It's a party, y'all. Jesus, I'd rather be in the chat partying, man. No, I don't know. I'm conflicted. Everybody's
I'm going
so
over
cool.
there now. You guys have fun with the show.
Johnny Blaze, the one and only.
Yeah. Wiki's here too.
Wikipedia snippet. All right. Well, shit, man. I got no other reason to not start jamming. What do y'all want to talk? What do y'all want to do?
Johnny Blaze.
You didn't even ask me what I've been up to all week.
What have you been up to all week, Mr. Excel?
I got a story. Do you know how when you buy like a used car, even new cars, right? They'll offer you like the 5-year service plan, and it's like another $3,000 on top of the car. Like, I know for a fact, anytime you purchase any kind of warranty plan like that, you're probably gonna lose, right? That's the calculation. That's why they sell them. They don't sell them to be nice. Well, I've had my car in the shop waiting for them to get to it for like 3 weeks now, and they finally got back to me this week. And it turned out the issue with my vehicle was a timing chain problem that's going to cost $2,500 to fix. Lo and behold, the salesman actually upsold me on that extended service plan, which cost $2,500. And after you figure in the tow and my $50 deductible, I've won on that service plan. So while it still sucks being out of a car right now, at least it's only going to cost me $50.
You can afford to rent something then.
So I've been borrowing my mom's car. My parents have 3 vehicles, so it's fine. Right? She's got an old Buick, so I've been driving that around. Plus, like, I work from home, and we still have ridiculous COVID bullshit, so where am I driving? And so it hasn't been a big deal. But I actually, since they said that in the service plan, like they've already approved the job, right? I think that now I can actually make a claim until they actually get the car fixed to get a rental under that plan.
Yeah, you might be able to get like a refund for it. You may have to pay for it up front. A lot of times that's how it works with like warranty and insurance.
Yeah, I have to go look, but I'm pretty sure it's in there somewhere that like if we decide to cover If we decide the reason your vehicle is out of commission is something that was guaranteed, we'll reimburse you for a rental car.
Oh,
So I might get one just
nice.
for fun. Get like a
Just for
fucking
fun?
Get like a fucking Escalade or some shit.
Drive it like you stole it.
Mhm. But yeah, I mean, we have more critical pedagogy bullshit this time with psychiatric associations with schools, video
this is
interview, courtesy, and provided to irate to share with the express written consent of our good friend Deb Philman.
and I'm not gonna lie, this one's probably gonna get me ranting, y'all. My oldest daughter has special needs, and she's the biggest reason I pulled her out of, she's the biggest reason I am a homeschooler now, is because the way they funnel kids through the system is fucking terrifying. These kids don't learn anything, and they're just put into these IEPs, and it's awful. So you're going to hear me rant because this is personal for me. I had to deal with my own child going through this. So, sorry if I get a little raw at times, but I'll try to keep it down. But this one is personal. I hate this part of the system.
Instead of you. That's why we watch you.
Indeed.
Yeah, well, you
All right, so we got Deb and a person named Sloan Rackmuth, president of Ed First Alliance, and she's based out of North Carolina. They'll go over all of this information. I'm going to talk slowly and articulate my words so you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. So, without any ado, y'all want to crank this one up?
Yes.
All right.
This looks like a before and after photo, and I'm just like, I mean, I can kind of see it, but it's more like you gotta flip it around. The before is on the left and on the right, or the before is on the right and on the left is 30 years later.
They do
Well,
resemble.
In which case, I would still say, like, 30 years later, like, I'd be happy.
right? It's almost like they're both native to the same region.
Yeah, they're cool. Deb's a really cool person. And
She really is. She's very gracious and patient with us wild madcaps that go in there and talk it up and cause trouble.
Well, so
She really is very gracious with us.
I've got her talking about doing the ice cream interview thing. And
Ooh.
yeah, and I think that's coming up this Saturday. I'll be talking with Aunt Kathy again. I'm excited. But all right, so let's go ahead and roll with this. Sorry, squirrel. You know me, Mr. ADHD, ADD actually. You know, I'm not very H activity wise.
All right, let's do it, man.
Sedentary. Yes. All right. All right. Ready? 3, 2, and.
Welcome everyone to The Reason We Learn on this Sunday evening, October 10th. I've got a shocking show for you this evening. I have Sloan Rackmuth back on the channel because she's got some updates. You are going to want to hear this. Please take a moment and share this video, like this video, get this out to people who would be interested in understanding more about social emotional learning. This is vital information. And while you're doing that, while you're smashing the like button and getting everybody corralled to get on this channel so they don't miss a thing, I also want to let you know that if you're interested in this topic and you want to follow along and not miss anything, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video, and also consider joining my locals community at thereasonwelearn.locals.com, because I will be sharing other things and articles and updates, stuff from Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, I try to get it over there so you don't miss out. These are all ways that you can stay up to date on what is happening in education in America. So with that said, also, you can follow, and you should follow, Sloan on Twitter. She's at Sloan Rackmuth, and I'm going to give you that right now. Hold on. So you can follow her on Twitter so you don't miss anything if you're not on Twitter. I really encourage you to check out edfirstnc.org. Now, it does say North Carolina, but that does not mean it's exclusively North Carolina focus. Is that correct, Sloan?
Correct.
Fair to say? So they're covering things nationally. Okay. It's just that, as she's about to tell us, North Carolina is the epicenter of some things. We're like a test site. So I'm going to turn this over now to Sloan, and she is going to shock you. Get ready. Okay. Go for it.
Shocking Sloan.
Here you go.
That's what they call me. Yeah. So thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. You're doing us a favor.
Oh, well, I don't know. You may think otherwise in a few minutes. But yeah, I mean, Deb, as you're saying, we have 27 chapters around the country, including 2 in California. And in North Carolina, we are the most progressive, the most far advanced educational system in the country. And that's very surprising to everyone in North Carolina, because we've had, Republican leadership in both houses and in the lieutenant governor's office. Not now. Mark Robinson's wonderful, but the previous, how many years has it been? It's been at least 12 years, something like that. Okay. And so, all along we've been hearing, in the past, oh, we're doing great, we're making great strides, etc. And lo and behold, we have the most progressive system in several ways. So we're going to talk, first of all, about Panorama. And it's not Glanorama or Bananarama.
No comment.
Unfortunately. I wish it were. But Panorama, we've been hearing about.
So it actually doesn't surprise me that North Carolina has this large, infiltration of the CRT virus into their education system. The reason it doesn't surprise me is because people in North Carolina are probably still like, what the fuck is CRT? They don't really know it, right? They don't see people out in the street all the time, like you would in California, spouting off random bullshit. So it's a lot easier actually just to sneak in the back door and get a stronghold someplace like that. Like really, the strongholds are going to be in the place where you least suspect it. At least in the places where you know what's happening, there's some pushback.
Not here.
Well, that's because like 100% of Portland is communist. So.
Fuck, dude, that place. Dude, you have no idea. It's so fucking weird. The market is so backwards. I can get a massive house in Portland, like in the city. I could get a massive house for like almost, it's like 40% less than I can anywhere else. But you have to live in Portland to live in the house. So there's no way anybody's going to rent them. Nobody wants to live there. It's like, it's crazy. Really, nobody wants to live in it. I've never seen anything like it. It's cheaper to live in the city here than it is to live in the burbs. But I won't live in that city.
I want to say to the people on YouTube real quick, if you refresh your page, I did put the link to Deb's channel on here. Subscribe to her channel, please. She's a friend of the show, and hopefully we're going to get her back on here too at some point. And maybe, go back over. We'll probably touch base on, what it is whenever she shows up, it'll be she's right on the cutting edge of everything. But yeah, y'all want to do some more?
Yeah, let's go.
Yes, please.
With good reason. I mean, we blew the whistle on Panorama May 30th in North Carolina. We were one of the first states to do it. And here's what we did. We put a petition together statewide that says, defund Panorama. May 30th, June 1st, the entire bookcase collapses on me personally and Education First Alliance. The superintendent came after us, called us vile liars and basically attention whores, tried to discredit us. We began getting a stalker, lawsuits, threatened for arrest, everything. And now we know that it probably has something to do with us trying to defund Panorama and that we were successful. So let me tell you about Panorama Education. The way we positioned it, Deb, is a child spying program.
It's fair. It's a fair statement.
Yeah, I mean, it's got, the surveys are extremely probing. Everything from a depression survey, which nobody deserves to know that about children. This is the government surveying your children. Also, this is the government vis-a-vis Panorama going into your living room and manipulating your 10-year-old child basically to tell them everything that mommy and daddy does. It's the complete crock. North Carolina is unique in this way. North Carolina was the first state to trial Panorama surveys in 2013. And again, This is party agnostic, people. This just is. 2013, we did a pilot here. 2016, the state was going to roll out panorama surveys in a lot of the schools. Democrat liberal superintendents weighed in and said, hey, wait a minute, not going to happen. We take exception to surveys asking personal questions and asking questions about students to weigh in on teachers here.
I wanted to verify this before I said anything about it, okay? But Panorama Education is owned by U.S. AG Merrick Garland's son-in-law, contracted with 23,000 public schools and raised $76 million from investors, all right? And this is the same Merrick Garland that weaponized the FBI against parents expressing their disdain at the CRT and all that.
The same Merrick Garland whose daughter is married to the publisher who produces most of the books for CRT for the public education system as well.
That's Panorama Education. That's him. That's the guy.
Okay, that's Merrick Garland directly benefits from this.
Indeed.
I don't know why he's allowed to be there. I don't understand any of this. It makes no sense. There should be some sort of accountability that is not there.
Yeah, but
this is insane.
But he wants FBI to focus on those those homegrown terrorists that just give a shit about what their kids are learning in school.
Jesus.
But I definitely I wanted to verify that though, and I verified it on Forbes. So if you want links, I'll throw them out later.
And then I believe
it's okay to ask about mom and dad and is there a gun in the house, but don't ask questions about the teacher quality.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of them asking about where my guns are.
Develop pubic hair and start having sex, because this is what a lot of these surveys do. I'm not kidding you. We have, and to our credit, we put a little bit of the brakes on surveys here in North Carolina. We're one of only 9 states in the country to be giving these bi-yearly surveys that ask the questions to middle schoolers. Hey, how often do you do heroin? What's the age at which you lost your virginity? How many hours a day are you left at home by yourselves? Oh, yeah. So these are very invasive. And again, it's the government who has no damn business doing that. So Panorama got its start here, okay? Had received objections in 2016, including by the now deputy superintendent under Catherine Truitt. The deputy superintendent said, hey, let's not give these. And now we're asking kids everything under the sun. What changed? That's usually either it's political or it's money or both. But now they're being
given probably both at this point. And of course, it should be noted that homeschool children do not have to take these surveys. Just so you know, a little sales pitch there for homeschooling.
Yet, Deb.
Well, I think coming to my house with this garbage and I won't go there.
The castle doctrine, baby.
Yeah. So, but Sloan, are students who are old enough to say no? Are they permitted to say no? Are they permitted to say, I'm not filling this out?
I'm glad you asked, Deb. It's almost like you queued me up. Let me tell you, the horrific thing about Panorama is that we have multiple problems with what you're talking about. So under federal law, any money that goes, federally to enact these surveys, which it does here with Panorama, you have to let the parents know and you have to let kids opt out. So we've got many complaints of parents not being told that the surveys are being given. We have a couple of the complaints that are outrageous, one of which, and this family's considering legal action, in Pitt County. A father called and said, hey, listen, I hear that you're giving these surveys tomorrow. Don't want my daughter to do it. Principal says, hey, whatever, man, cool. That's your option. The next day, the little girl was called into the principal's office and coerced into taking that survey. This is a Panorama survey. So this is going around parental consent completely, and federal law, might I add.
Not to mention probably traumatizing the child.
The child has had problems being withdrawn and showing symptoms of PTSD since that, because there have been several via SEL, multiple questionnaires since then, and this is going on all over the state, all over the country, and kids are afraid. Well, they feel like they're under glass, quite frankly,
Okay,
and they're being monitored.
Pause
And they're
for a
in the
second.
right. They feel this. Kids.
She's talking about symptoms of PTSD. This is not normal. And I don't appreciate the fact that she's using this with children. Children generally don't show symptoms of PTSD. Why is she saying this, Irate?
I don't understand your question.
Why is she saying the child is showing symptoms of PTSD from answering a questionnaire? That seems like a really bad argument.
I don't know.
Am I misunderstanding what she's saying?
I'm not sure. All right, let's rewind it and then let's articulate and see what.
Okay, I'm sorry. They're both kind of chattering really fast.
Yeah. Can you move
So I
slow
wanted to
down, please?
understand, because no, it was just they were both saying information at the same time, and she said something about the child showing symptoms of PTSD. And I'm curious.
I think she's talking about they're looking for asking questions about that shit.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure.
Answers that can be construed. I don't know. Let's try.
Yes.
Well, they come into my house with this garbage, and I won't go there.
The castle doctrine, baby.
Yeah. So, but Sloan, are students who are old enough
I can't hear
to
it.
say no? Are they permitted to say no? Are they permitted to say, I'm not filling this out?
I'm glad you asked, Deb. It's almost like you queued me
I
up.
can't hear it at all.
Let me
Irate.
tell you, the horrific.
Excel, can you hear it?
No.
God damn it. That's fucking.
Okay.
Fuck. Don't show me shit again. What? I hate Discord occasionally. All right, so what I have to do is I have to do this. All right, and pop back in.
Back in a sec. There he is.
That's right. And reconnect the VLC. And minimize.
Thing about Panorama is
Is that better?
Yay!
But, Sloan, are students who are old enough to say no? Are they permitted to say no? Are they permitted to say, I'm not filling
I
this
can't
out?
hear it again. But there it
I'm
is.
glad you asked, Deb. It's almost like you queued me up. Let me tell you, the horrific thing about Panorama is that we have multiple problems with what you're talking about. So under federal law, any money that goes, federally to enact these surveys, which it does here with Panorama, you have to let the parents know and you have to let kids opt out. So we've got many complaints of parents not being told that the surveys are being given. We have a couple of the complaints that are outrageous, one of which, and this family's considering legal action, in Pitt County. A father called and said, hey, listen, I hear that you're giving these surveys tomorrow. Don't want my daughter to do it. Principal says, hey, whatever, man, cool. That's your option. The next day, the little girl was called into the principal's office and coerced into taking that survey. This is a Panorama survey. So this is going around parental consent completely, and federal law, might I add.
Not to mention probably traumatizing the child.
The child has had problems being withdrawn and showing symptoms of PTSD since that, because there have been several via SEL, multiple questionnaires since then, and this is going on all over the state, all over the country.
Okay.
And kids are afraid.
You want to say something?
Okay. How have we gotten to the point where we're equating PTSD with filling out forms you don't want to fill out. I don't understand how we got there. Like, I'm not understanding the descriptor. I feel like this is a really bad argument to justify fighting against this group. Does it seem apoplectic to anybody else?
I'm trying to find the goddamn surveys.
Like, are these surveys that bad? I mean, I just feel like it's saying the child is showing symptoms of PTSD.
Well, they could be dreaming about it. It could have scared them. You know, I don't know. It's like that is, I don't know. Technically, well, by definition, it's maybe a stretch.
I don't know, because I don't know how it works, like, these days. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'm not up on this, but it feels apoplectic to me. But maybe it was that bad? I mean, would you be considering at that point? Or would somebody be holding you the fuck down so you wouldn't shoot someone? Because if my kid came home showing symptoms of PTSD from being bullied about this kind of stuff, somebody would cease breathing.
Well, yeah, most people aren't you, though, right? Most parents won't even hear this shit from their kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm that mom.
They're asking. Like,
they're telling them
really
to not talk to your parents about this shit. I mean, they're telling them that, you know?
Yeah, like, I understand
I know
what they're saying, but, like, if a kid was being forced to take, like, let's just say, answer a bunch of uncomfortable questions, right? And then saying, you can't tell your parents about it, right? And they just answer a whole bunch of uncomfortable questions. Guidance counselors have uncomfortable sessions with them, things like that. Like, I could see how I don't know, PTSD. I don't know. I'm not qualified to say whether or not, yeah, that could lead to PTSD. Could it lead to some disturbing behavior or uneasiness with a kid? Of course, right? Sadly, I don't have kids and don't know anything else about this. I feel like
I'm sorry, I got a phone call. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know. I got a phone call.
I feel like we're missing a chunk of the conversation here, right? Like, especially,
well, that's what, yeah.
There's a big point here too, right? So especially with when it comes to battling, I don't want to say CRT because that's the considered like critical theory. I mean, that's what we started talking about. It's not just race. There's other aspects to critical theory that are ingrained into our academic institutions, and they're trying to take over schools and start teaching kids things that are not based on objective reality because they don't believe in objective reality, and instead imposing an ideology on our kids, right? I think you got to pick your battles. Like, there's some shit that does not fall into that category that it could be shitty for kids, but it's a different battle. And I don't think that's the war that needs to be won right now. Like, there's all sorts of shitty things for kids that have gone on in public schools since before any of this was even popular.
I had a problem with it before it was popular.
Right.
Because I had a white disabled child.
And they wanted to medicate her.
Well, no, she was treated more poorly than the rest of the kids in the class because she was white. She was racially attacked because she was white. That happened in more than one school.
Hey, that's not even new. I know Minor Threat are a bunch of fucking cucks now, but they used to have a song called Guilty of Being White, and ironically, like, their complaint was, like, a whole bunch of, like, actual white nationalist skinhead types would send them a song. It's like, thank you for speaking up for the white man. It was like, no, I was just explaining what it was like being a poor white kid in the ghetto in an all-black school. It sucked.
Yeah.
There was nothing else to look into. It sucked. He was the white kid. Being a minority sucks, it turns out. Like, most of the time. Especially with kids. Kids suck.
Well, it's not even necessarily that the kids suck. It's
Kids. A kid can be cool. A few kids can be awesome. A bunch of kids sucks. I think almost always.
It depends. Well, okay, sure, if you say so. I used to love teaching groups of kids in the homeschool co-ops. It was great. I had a blast, but I also got to do things I like, and it was a good time for everybody. But I see what you're saying. My biggest problem was that every time my daughter was poorly treated, and it was because of her race, the people in positions of authority assisted with that abuse. They would cover it up, or they would force her to try to befriend the people who were abusing her based on the racial attacks they were throwing at her. It was fucking insane. And this was almost 20 years ago. This is nothing new, guys. This is just people are finally starting to talk about it.
All right, you ready to go from Kimberly?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like they're under glass, quite frankly, and they're being monitored, and they're in the right. They feel this. Kids know this.
And so, and of course, what about little kids? Okay, so you've got kids who are not reading, so they can't really read the survey to answer panorama surveys. How old do they start this stuff?
I've heard as early as 5th grade, but let me tell you what they're doing with children in 4th grade, for example.
Crazy, right?
In North Carolina and other places through SEL. So SEL is social emotional learning. And I want you to, let me give you a segue here. So without surveys, social emotional learning would collapse because continuous data feeds are critical and requisite for social emotional learning to actually happen. And so what's happening in social emotional learning, to your point, in 3rd grade, in 4th grade, when kids aren't cognizant of what a survey is, kids also are not cognizant of what boundaries are and what privacy is, because they want to be a good student. They've been taught by their parents to comply. So these children are writing autobiographies or being given exercises that ask them, what are your parents like? What kind of relationship do you have? And if I may, can I share my screen with you to show you?
Please.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you to show you. This is actually a middle school assignment, but it's really instructive here, Deb, because this is being done really in all areas. So I'm going to show you. Let's see. I've got this in the bottom. Can you cue this up here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So this is a typical SEL lesson. You'll see it's a continuous self-examination exercise. Something my friends do that worries me. What is their name, by the way? My mother's name is, and what kind of relationship do you have? Again, though this happens to be middle school, we are seeing exercises just like this in 3rd and 4th grade.
Okay.
This is outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is completely outrageous because you know what this is? This is forcing kids to focus on what others think. Read the questions.
Yeah, so they can diagnose them. See, that's the end game here, is that teachers are going to diagnose kids with like psychiatric disorders, not just I think he's got ADD shit and may need, take him to your doctor. I think he's got ADD. All right. And this is like, and then it's like, well, okay, so there's antidepressants in the house. Is there anybody else that's taking antidepressants?
Well, hold on.
And
hold
then,
on.
there's these red flag laws. If they've got a gun in the house and you're taking antidepressants, oh my God. We don't want you to kill yourself.
Yeah, these are actually pretty good examples of questions where parents might be like, why the fuck are you asking my kid that in school?
Yeah, it's totally inappropriate. Go ahead.
There's something far more insidious here.
what they're
They're
gonna
talking
use
about it. Okay, she said they're talking about self-reflection and all this kind of shit. None of this is self-reflection. Not a single one of these questions here is about self-reflection of anything other than the bottom question where it says, I would describe my relationship with my mom/caregiver as, that is the only thing close to a self-reflective question. Everything else is them focusing on what others say and do. There is literally nothing that is self-reflective in here. This survey is about the social credit system. This is far more insidious, though, because it encourages this weird henpecky society we have, because they're trying to focus everybody. It's communism.
Right.
And it's very insidious the way this is being done, because they're doing it on a subconscious level.
Well, it's like we were talking about earlier. Remember that there was a juvenile detention center in L.A. that they found with these Chinese doctors that were like, if I'm not mistaken, they were here on work visas. Okay, CCP maybe, probably. I don't know. Right, and they were treating aggressive males with estrogen. And these guys were growing tits and stuff, and they found out. And it was like,
well, how are you going to hide that?
Well, then the deal is that prescribing any kind of hormone to treat any kind of psychiatric or aggressive disorder is totally unheard of. It's totally fucking unheard of.
Yeah, I thought they tried it with Hitler and discovered that estrogen actually made him more aggressive.
Yeah, there's a problem with the American Psychiatric Society.
Yeah,
where
it's been compromised by wokeage. I mean, it was kind of compromised back in the day. And if you go to any college, go to check out the psych majors, man. They're all crazy as fuck. They're there to try to find out what's wrong with them. That's the only reason these people get. And look, man, I've worked with some really excellent psychiatric workers and psychiatrists. There are really good people out there, but there are a lot of fucktards out there too, man. And the
majority are,
and they're on power trips and shit. It's amazing.
Exactly. I mean, we're seeing this in the medical fields, and you're starting to see it. I mean, you see it in the hard sciences too. You see the articles coming up where it's less about being able to do good science and more about which diversity group we can peg you in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all compromising. And God, don't even get me started on completely valid papers that could easily be rebutted if there was problems with them, that get pulled for no reason other than they weren't sensitive enough to a certain diverse community.
Even if they have nothing to do with that community. That's something I've been seeing, is that unrelated things, you'll see somebody doing a biochemistry thesis and they'll have their thesis removed, or it'll be shot down and they'll have to reword it because it doesn't discuss critical theory when it's, discussion of, I don't know, atomic mass and tunneling or something. You know what I mean? It has literally nothing to do with these things.
We're going to see it more and more in the same strategy. I mean, we already see it bleeding into political culture, which I just want to say what I mean by that. I obviously don't mean anything about the CDC or the FDA. Listen to them. Susan's right. Anyway, let's go on.
I just can't even. And then also, what I want people watching this to understand, and one of our commenters here, Lonely Wolf, says, and it sort of explains what I'm about to say. The first lesson that should be taught is that not everybody wants to hear your life story, but it's now actively being taught. So the flip side, not only is the government surveying your
that was funny. That was a good comment.
Kid, and then storing the
That's
data,
Lonely Wolf too. I know who
selling
that is.
the data, but
you know Lonely Wolf.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
He shows up at Minions, and I think he's commenting on a couple of my things. I see him in chats all the time. I think he's at Ranting Monkey as well.
Sweet.
Your child is learning a lesson about divulging feelings, about the value of feelings and about how, you know, much everyone is or should be interested in those feelings. When reality out there in the world is, no, when I asked you how your day is going, I really didn't want an hour-long spiel about every last little feeling that you have and why you have it, and my not having time to listen to that or even wanting to listen to it doesn't mean I've injured you. I have not just traumatized you because I didn't validate all the little feelings that you shared with me. I have to go to work now. You know what I mean? So when you're seeing young people who not only don't manage their emotions, like they claim this will help with emotional management. No, the first thing you learn about managing your emotions is when and where to feel them. And in the middle of a classroom amongst your peers is probably not the place you want to be doing, you know, all this performative feeling. Yeah. They're learning a lesson about this that is the opposite of what it ought to be.
Something that I've said plenty of times, but I just say it in different words.
Yeah, and people who are just like, you know.
Yeah. So what Deb is referring to is what I look at it like is, you always hear these words like emotional abuse, emotional harm, right? Like they talk about Dave Chappelle's last skit did so much harm to the trans community, and I was like, no, it doesn't. First, you can't do harm to a community, right? You can do harm to individuals, not a community. I mean, maybe you could do harm to the entire fucking community all at one time by attacking all of them literally at once, but each individual is going to react differently just to words being said. But there's a balance though, right? Like emotional abuse is real. Emotional harm can be real. Most of the time that comes from people that are in a situation where it's somebody close to them and it's somebody that's hard for them to get away from, right? And we're teaching kids the opposite. Like anything that anybody says, you see something on TV that was emotionally abusive, you should feel bad about it. You aren't teaching kids resilience at all, right? Like to get through this world, you have to have some level of resilience. And they're just saying, no, don't be resilient. Cry about everything.
Well, and see, Thomas,
like they just completely flipped it, where we just ignore that. Like resilience is a desirable trait that should be instilled in everybody.
And see, Thomas on Twitch says Dave Chappelle did nothing wrong. It's not his fault. Mentally ill fuckwits get mad at him. And the truth is that he ends that show talking about a trans person that went to all of his shows, and he developed a friendship with this person, and they ended up committing suicide. They blew their brains out.
I read into something
because that's the problem with the trans issue. We don't know what to do with these people. We are not doing this right, in my opinion.
Yeah, so like I think I read into this correctly, and if I didn't, then whatever. But like, so at the end of that skit, and there's spoilers here, like plug your ears for about 20 seconds if you want to hear. So he's talking about his trans friend and how, you know, after he got attacked, you know, his trans friend came and defended him, and she got drugged through the mud. And he talked about, she was my friend, she was one of my people. And then the last thing he says in the skit is, stop punching down on my people. So I thought he was talking about stop punching down on people like Daphne. And they still just don't get it. Like they're zealots, man. They're zealots. They will destroy anything and everything that is in their way until we get their perfect society, and they must be resisted at all costs.
And the fucked up thing is we're taking people that are already unstable emotionally, and they're sensitive, and they're using their bravery far more effectively than the average human being. And people come back at them, and they don't have the resilience to fight such an onslaught because they're already unstable and fighting their own fucking battle. It's so fucked up.
They give them a pathway to not only acceptance but reverence, and then when they get into the real world, what do you think is going to happen?
And it's so fucked up. You're setting
once they get around their coddle chamber
or for failure. Yeah, exactly, Excel. It's just makes me mad. Makes me really mad because these are people, and we aren't treating them the way we should be. This is not dignity and respect.
in all actuality, I mean, it's true abuse, right? It's making people delusional, like fantasizing, because they don't believe in objective reality, so we don't teach them what objective reality is. Instead, we teach them.
We're gaslighting them. We're gaslighting them out of watching natural reality and accepting it.
No, and we say we tell them this is what perfect reality is, and that you need to throw a fit anytime somebody doesn't conform to the perfect reality that we told you is a perfect reality.
Right, that was a lie.
That is not a perfect reality either.
Right.
No, it's a perfect reality in their eyes.
Yeah.
Except for it doesn't exist yet because nobody's.
Of course it doesn't. It's utopian. It's complete bullshit.
What do you mean,
That's why
man?
it's kinda
Chaz
like
Chop, dude. Chaz Chop. That was the deal. That was awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Fuck, dude. No, it wasn't. I'm still paying for it.
Right.
The hell are you talking about? We had 3 autonomous zones that summer in Portland.
That was local too, man. Jesus, I can imagine that was one city for everybody involved. All right, let's keep rolling with this video. We got plenty to go through.
It's not good.
No, it's not good, but this is another way that they're collecting the data. And so in North Carolina, we've even had school districts that Panorama has come in, not only paid for the survey, but paid for 2 years worth of employees to analyze that data and extrapolate it. And they had something called in my summation, it was a PI, which is a primary investigator. And that
Psychiatric data mining.
that is something that you have in a clinical trial. So, North Carolina has been the guinea pig. And this has been obviously now extrapolated all along the country. Let me give you an idea of what we're talking about. 10% of school districts have Panorama in them. Okay, so that's not a lot.
Yeah,
but they're overrepresented here in North Carolina, and that's why we're hoping, we're wishing, we're exploring perhaps the first lawsuit against Panorama to come out of North Carolina.
Right. Well, that's good. But what do you think are the implications of, for example, the Attorney General's letter threatening parents who've been complaining about things like this?
Yeah. So,
for those who don't know, who are watching, if you haven't heard, the National School Boards Association sent a letter to the Biden administration that was really quickly responded to because it probably was planned in advance, and there's an investigation ongoing because the whistleblower said that it was. And the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, has a son-in-law who is the co-founder of Panorama Ed, and it just isn't that convenient and coincidental that he's sort of saying we're going to send the FBI out to all these districts to start an investigation into what parents are complaining about against the parents, when his son-in-law stands to profit in a big way from one of the things parents are complaining most vociferously about.
Well, again, back to North Carolina, what's more coincidental is that September 28th, our Republican superintendent, Catherine Truitt, sends out a letter accusing, it's actually almost a replica of the complaints that the DOJ made. September 28th, she sends out the letter along with a state Board of Ed chair that says, hey, parents, stop being violent, blah, 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 without one scintilla of evidence. Moreover, she has been the first one to send parents to their local school board to complain about critical race theory, SEL, and Panorama surveys because she claims that the state has nothing to do with it, which is a bold-faced lie. September 29th, the National School Board Association, that's the date which they sent the letter. So their letter predates that. Again, Panorama has a stronghold in North Carolina. It just goes to show there is some sort of collusion here, right? Because we've been raising hell at Panorama. We've been damn good at that job. Parents all across the state have demanded it be defunded. And I'm telling you, if it's defunded here in North Carolina, Panorama has lost maybe even half of their revenue. We don't know, but we're putting a dent in it. So because we're so effective, and again, this has nothing to do with party, guys. This has to do with a color, and the color is green.
Yep. Well, and it's green in terms of the money, but there's also a power component. If you want to silence your political enemies, If you want to make it really difficult for them to get their message out, to contradict anything you're saying, if you want your narrative to dominate all the way down to, getting kids when they're 6 and weeding out and changing the thoughts of independent thinkers. If your goal ultimately is, subservient little go along to get along serfs and or activists who are supportive of your cause. So you might even be satisfied with, we're not going to get all activists, but we need to at least control the ones who are not going to, actively support our cause. We need to make sure they're marginalized, minimized, subdued, etc., and that anybody who might fight against us won't have the capacity to do it. Well, one way you can do that is get a hold of their kids.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, people approached Hitler and said, hey,
CPS.
What are you doing? You're going to lose the elections. He goes, what difference does that make? I have your kids. You know what I mean? I mean, this is, everything's Hitler to the left, but I mean, there's a true analog here.
That's actually accurate. That is what happened.
Yeah.
Because one of the first things he changed that people don't realize in 1938, one of the first major institutions that he took over 100% was education.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we're looking at is a Mao type of program. Mao had something called the Four Olds, and what he did was sought to extinguish the old culture.
What?
Sorry. Technical difficulties on my part this time. I accidentally unplugged my microphone.
Were you saying anything?
USB power cable. I just said
I thought I heard
everybody's heard of the Hitler Youth, but it didn't come through.
Right.
Oh.
Okay.
And then
they had looking at measurements of skulls and shit, and it was like pseudoscience, the whole moronification. It's like all you are is really a tool of the state, and you owe your life and to the state and become a great soldier. That's how you excel in this life. And
I mean, they sold it as serving some sort of higher power. It was very religious-like, but yes, you're correct.
Culture's old belief.
I was going to say, speaking of Hitler Youth, they're trying to recruit other teenagers to go door to door throughout the neighborhoods and knock on people's doors and encourage them to get the jab. In a state that has over 70% of the people jabbed.
But you had some sad ploy too. It's just like, keep me safe. I don't want to die.
Yeah.
Get back.
So my teenager answered the door. My teenager answered the door and told her, "Fuck your jab," and slammed the door in her face.
I recommend, just like the CDC and the official position of the show now, is Susan's official position that everybody get vaccinated no matter what, or how old you are, or what the consequences are, because that's just how it is. Let's go.
Well, my daughter's 14. She's not held legally accountable for what she says anyway. It's okay.
Ask your doctor about that special rectal vaccination that they're getting out too. So
that one's supposed to be super pleasurable for guys.
Indeed. Well, this is a paper version of it that they're talking about right now, isn't it?
Fuck, dude, this is crazy.
All right, let's roll.
Beliefs, old habits. I think there's one more other thing. I think it's religion, but to sanitize that, that's exactly what's happening. What's happening. So I'm going to go, Deb, and tell you that what's behind this. In other words, critical race theory. A lot of people have been appropriately worried about that. That we know is just a tool. Critical race theory is a tool. It's a part of a bigger movement. And I'm going to show you a schematic that will get that out.
God, finally.
So the end game, and not really the end game, it's actually here, is medicalizing this. In other words, you will comply or your child will be medicated. With what? A variety of things. Puberty blockers we've seen, antipsychotics we've seen, benzodiazepines. But that is the end game here. It's here in North Carolina. So I'm going to show you, again, a schematic for all of our people here. I'm going to show you something called, and this is, by the way, this is not only in North Carolina, this is in, I think, and I want to be very clear in our reporting, which we'll do this week, about 12 other states. This is called the MTSS framework, multi-tiered support system. It involves Panorama, it involves SEL, period. So you will see here in the upper left, screening. That's an absolute must. You will see without screening, this whole thing falls down. This is Panorama surveys and others. Down here you see culturally responsive. That means critical race theory. So that CRT is connected to something called a prevention system. So it's for your school safety, right? And then monitoring the progress, right? What progress and to who and who's evaluating this. But this goes in, this flows in, and I'll show you, into putting psychiatric staff into every single school. Let me tell you how that works. And this is, by the way, this is a schematic for that. It's integrated, evidence-based, which is BS, etc. So here's how this works. Your children are going to be screened in Panorama, and they're going to tell you, hey, it's screening to see that everything's okay and keep everybody safe. They're being screened for a psychiatric diagnosis.
Hold on.
The teachers are doing the screening. The teachers are doing the diagnosing.
Hold on. How can you be on one side of the educational profile screaming that tracking needs to not happen and then be pushing screening? They're literally the same fucking thing.
Results, right? So, educational tracking is based on some sort of, meritocratic performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're against that because if you do that, you don't get an even split of all the diversity groups or whatever. But what this does is it tracks how well people are responding to their ideological indoctrination, and they're finding the outliers and determining that, well, they're not responding well to the program, right? There's actually been movies that show that, like, god damn, like, how many movies have there been? One of my favorite ones is, like, man, I have to get into it. One of my favorite ones is, it starred the guy that played fucking Rudy, the dude from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it starred him, and he lived in this society that was, like, completely totalitarian and utopian in some ways, and they made everybody equal. But the way they did that is, like, pro athletes, depending on how well they did, they had to wear, like, weights, right? Everybody had to wear this thing around their head so that people only got C's, and if you got an A, they had to adjust it until you got dumb enough to get a C. And then this person just kept resisting and kept, like, no matter what they threw at him, he was too smart. Yeah,
that sounds like it's the ballad of. It sounds like it's the ballad of.
That's it.
Harrison Bergeron.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
Okay.
There's a movie on it too.
There is. I'm gonna have to go dig that up. I might be doing that tonight.
Yeah,
it's really good. We could do a movie night later, Tim. I'll do that.
I want to watch it with my girls too. Fuck yeah, we'll watch it together though too. I want to watch it with my kids as well. They love the short story. So
I mean, I know that sounds conspiratorial, but, like, God, it's one of those things, like, you don't have to have a whole bunch of people that are getting there. This is our sinister plan. You just need to have a whole bunch of people that truly believe, like, this is how reality should be and this is how people should think, right? And they honestly believe it, to come to the conclusion, well, that the outliers, they must just be defective. There's something wrong with them.
Yeah. Did I lose it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Right, we're ready to go?
Yeah, a whole
Believe it or not, the teacher's doing clinical diagnosing. Then we've got psychiatrists, or children have access to psychiatrists via Zoom inside of the schools. Now, in California, first of all, sounds horrific, and it is. California, the age that children can get psychiatric treatment without parental consent is 12.
They
North
bumped
Carolina,
it up a year.
it's 0.
It used to be 11.
So you can have 5th graders, 3rd graders, 2nd graders who the teacher will refer to an outside source, whatever, or inside, and they have qualified immunity, Deb. This means
All right, just for all right. Have you seen these fucking teachers on TikTok and shit?
Yes.
Can these brain dead motherfuckers make an accurate diagnosis of somebody, even if they had it spelled out for them exactly what to look for?
No.
They're fucking retarded motherfuckers. They're crazy.
I pledge allegiance to the queers is really going to know if somebody has bipolar
Right,
disorder.
with purple hair, right, and like tits that drag on the floor. For fuck's sake. Yeah. See, that's they've been stacking the deck, man, for 20 years now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're all about the screening, but they're screaming that you can't do tracking within the school.
Right. You can't test the teachers, right? Because that's racist.
They cannot be sued for malpractice. This means wrong think is what they're looking for. Deb, this is a system that relies not on outward behavior, like not paying attention, falling asleep in class, whatever. It relies on the contents of a child's mind, attitudes, beliefs. So that's why you need the screening, you guys, because it's relying on what's on the inside. And these programs say if you don't get enough children who are LGBTQ or who need psychiatric help, continually test them. That's what they're doing. Right, because if it were outward behavior, Deb, you wouldn't have to screen. If it were outward behavior, and in fact, if the endpoint of SEL and the endpoint of screening is behavior, we'd have no objections. But it's not, because the beginning point isn't behavior. If the beginning point is a behavior, it sure as hell isn't the endpoint.
Hold on. She's okay with the screening process so long as it isn't modifying behaviors? So she's fine?
I don't think that's what she's saying.
Okay. Okay.
What about you, Excel?
I mean, I didn't really gather that. Like, it's one of those things where, like, at face value, right? So maybe you tell parents about it, like, hey, we're gonna give kids like this psychiatric exam. We're gonna give you the results. School's not gonna do anything about it, right? It's just to help identify certain common issues that kids might have, right? And then it's up to you to go take it to a doctor or not. That would be one thing. Especially if they said, and if you can't afford it, like, we have an assistance program. But that's not what they're doing here. It seems like they're doing it all behind their back, keeping a record and a profile of the kids.
Well, that's illegal as well. You're not allowed to keep a profile on children other than their behavior at school. And it has to be things that, like, are cited. Well, at least, I don't know, they've changed everything, because I pulled my kids out of school a decade ago.
Legislatures and shit modifying laws every goddamn day. You know, in different states and stuff. Right?
Yeah. Well, and people ignore the rules for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, man.
So
it's crazy.
So it's just strange to me the way people are talking about this shit. It's like, well, you know, we probably wouldn't be saying anything if this was actually doing what they said it was going to do. But I'm like, no, this isn't the school's fucking business. If a teacher notices a kid acting odd, you send an email to the parent. Hey, your kid's acting odd in this way. I don't know what that means, but I thought you should know. Your kid's good either the rest of the way. This is why I homeschool, y'all, because I have a child who is special needs. She is neurodivergent. And the education system doesn't do anything for kids that aren't just kind of middle of the road. If you aren't completely middle of the road when it comes to energy and intellect and personality, if you aren't fully malleable, there's no way for you to succeed in school. If you're slow at all or if you're clever. Anything.
Well, you know, they do better at the people at the bottom end of the curve than they do at the people at the top end of the curve.
They don't know what to do with smart people.
There's sympathy for the bottom end of the curve. Smart people, there's no sympathy for.
Oh. No, see, that angers me.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why gifted programs get cut, right? Not the LD programs. Which I think they're both equally as important as long as you have a competent gifted program or accelerated learning program, right?
You have to have a competent disability system, too.
They both need to be competent, right? But I got to go to, I'm kind of old, right? I'm 37, but my senior year of high school, I got to go to the University of Missouri, Kansas City for 2 classes a day to get calculus and physics out of the way. That costs the school district a lot of money, right? It's expensive to take college courses, right? Mm-hmm. It got cut like 3 years after I graduated. And then they cut like all the elementary school gifted programs that I used to be in.
Yeah.
All of them got cut.
Right. Nothing. There's no superlative classes. They're being systematically taken out. Any kind of special kids, like what they used to call magnet schools where I am, right? Which was, they would take the smartest kids around the city and put them in one school together. And
for the few school districts that have had success in actually raising the value of education for some kids have been like, funny enough, like New York City, but not because of their public schools. It's the charter schools.
Yep. That's
So
right.
The charter schools are outperforming the public schools exponentially.
Yeah, because they don't have to abide by the framework that the public schools do. Like,
they don't have to push CRT.
Well, they also can just kick fucking kids out that just don't seem to be there to learn.
Well, the ones that are violent and cause problems.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, one of the problems with some of these public schools is, we talked about this when we were talking with Dev Philman, is especially these inner city schools, so little is expected of them, and the strategy for them to do better has nothing to do with teaching the kid more. It has everything to do with lowering the standards to the point where you can pass people that aren't even proficient in 8th grade math to graduate from high school, right? Mm-hmm. So these charter schools, though, they don't have that obligation, right? They've got lines of kids that want to get into these schools, so they're never going to run out of like students, and they also don't have to abide to like certain rules, like regarding disciplinary standards, right? Where some of them are so ridiculous that you basically can't kick a problem. I'm not even saying kick them out of school. You can't remove them from the class with the students that actually want to learn.
Well, okay.
You'll get situations where 3/4 of the class are the problem kids, right? And those 3/4 are gonna harass the other quarter that would love to just do their homework, except if they do, it makes everybody else look bad and they get their ass kicked. And eventually the teachers give up. It's a vicious cycle in a lot of these school districts.
Yep. All right, let's roll.
Okay.
This is unconstitutional. This is human rights abuse on a major scale. And I want to tell you something we never talked about. Social emotional learning, fundamentally, it seeks to change the genders of children involved. Period. This medical program, and I'm getting ready to show you, and it is a medical program. It is predicated on critical race theory. It is incentivized by changing the gender.
What do you think is their end game? Like, why?
I don't know, but I'm sure, to your point, back in the 1930s, no one knew what the endpoint was for Hitler. No one knew what the endpoint was for Mao. You know, you can theorize, but what we do have is we have concrete proof of what's going on, and you know what? That's going to have to be enough. Let me show you. I'm showing you the data collection slide, so we can see this. And I hope it's big enough for you guys. If it's not, I'm going to try to blow it up for you. Okay. Whoops.
Oops, sorry. I hit it twice by accident.
Okay. So just shows you to what extent did your school use best practices to disaggregate mental health services and support data to examine student outcomes based on various demographic characteristics, not based on behavior or academic performance? Again, behavior and academic performance, that is outside of the mind and the conscience of a person, which, I mean, the First Amendment starts there. We have to at least have the freedom of thought and conscience. This program in North Carolina, supported by both sides of the aisle, does not. So
what is there? Okay, when I'm assuming that somebody like Truitt has been asked, why do you support this program? What is the positive outcome you expect to see from this massive investment of our taxpayer dollars and these intrusive questions into our children's and our lives? Justify it. And what do they say?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, this started before her.
Whatever they said. What was the justification?
Well, I can tell you what she has said. She has said, parents, if you don't like Castle SEL, stop looking at the website.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Stop looking at the website. Let me tell you, for the last several months.
If you don't like being overweight, just don't get on the scale. That's all better. That's
what I do.
No, but I mean, it's like if you're for health, like, you know, you're obese and it's impacting your health. When you go to the doctor a month later and say, I solved my problem. I stopped looking at this scale. It's all better now.
Yeah, I did the scale out the window and I ripped the seams out of all my jeans. Big deal, my ass is showing in the back. But hey, who's the wiser? Yeah, exactly. But, you know, what Catherine Truitt spent time on doing, and I'll speak to her about her. She spent several months calling us liars. Liars and fame whores, and that we were, get this, paid Marxists to infiltrate. So that was
What?
Yeah. Yeah. So the first,
projection much, Miss Truitt?
Yeah. Until we came fighting back, and I'm talking about fighting back with lawyers. So until we came fighting back and fighting back with ethics. I mean, look, her own right-hand man, who I must mention was in the Dan Forest administration, his wife is a lobbyist for these psychiatric programs. He's making money off of this. So he was doing that while Dan Forest was in office. I'm not blaming anyone for anything, but I'm telling you the material fact.
Yeah. So real quick, me and Atimo just kind of agreed in chat. So after me and Atimo were like, we typed in the chat. I just want to talk about it for a second. So, like, at first we were very confused about what Sloan was talking about. We know they're giving these kids these surveys, and then she's like, they have PSTD, and then eventually I'm like, you know, she keeps going in, and I just realized my whole thought is like, all right, I get it now. She's making good points. I understand. There's a problem. She's fighting against it. That's good. But I think she's like trying so hard to be a firebrand that it's kind of hard to see her actual arguments.
No, she's pissed.
Behind all the anger, right? Yeah.
She's pissed right now because she's been defamed by these people, and it's probably been going on for a while. And they've had to hire attorneys, and she's all pissed off because she has to deal with attorneys, and she don't like attorneys. Because she strikes me as that type.
I understand. It's like part of that is for the audience. Like, if you're like listening to this chick and like you're kind of getting lost and just seeing more anger than substance, you're not alone.
She's salty.
It might be justified, and like, you know, my recommendation would be to learn to remove yourself from the situation. Like, remove yourself from yourself a little bit. At least at times, so that you can formulate your argument and get it across, so I understand what you're mad about.
I totally get why she's salty. They've been defaming her, and they've been attacking their organization for a while. I get the salty totally. I think she's just a little too salty. She's good at entertainment. She's got some great quips, but she needs to relax and use a little more logic and less emotion to make her argument, and she can even still be salty. She just needs to use more data and less.
So this is something like Deb's great at. that from all the videos I've watched, and I think Sloan's probably trying to imitate it. But like the best way to be like that is to isolate yourself, give the very composed argument, be very clear what you're speaking of, and then get angry about it. Right? You got to break it up. Have some highs and lows. You can't be on 11 the entire time.
Yeah.
Goes to 11.
Yeah.
You're going to overdrive your speakers.
Becca makes a point, like, yeah, it's like, don't make the argument personal, or you just kind of lose the argument to yourself.
Right.
Well, you lose the audience. You no longer
lose the audience, yeah.
You no longer have everybody agreeing with you or even listening to what you're saying at that point.
Yep. Anyway, we can carry on. Irate, you can go piss.
I've already pissed.
Oh, okay. That's quick. All right. Oh, yeah, irate prostate. Makes sense. I'm just quick, dude, but partially because my bathroom is 5 feet away from me.
I hear you.
Homonym attacks towards the people who are bringing the news. That was what they first did. Now they're going into, hey, this can prevent the next school shooter. That's BS. Again.
Oh,
yeah,
what a crock.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I would argue the opposite is true.
I think you're right.
Because
look at the medicine. Look at those medicines.
Yeah. Not only that, if you look at these kids, it's a combination of a kind of a nihilism. They believe in nothing. They have no hope for anything. And they feel like, on the one hand, they've been told, like, for a certain portion of their lives, you're special, you're perfect, you're amazing, you're wonderful, great inflation, trophies for everybody, blah, blah, blah. You hit middle school, which is about where things start to go off the rails, and you start getting bullied, or things start happening. And now, of course, we've empowered bullies with CRT. So now we're giving them more weapons to use to bully each other. You microaggress. You're a bully. You're a misogynist. You're an evil oppressor. You're a bad person. And are you going to be really surprised when the next school shooter shows up because he's sick and tired of being called names and thrown to the side and told he's a bad person? Or worse, people trying to feminize him right out of existence.
Exactly. Well, what we have now is, look, and this is something that's universally abhorred and reviled and opposed by gay people alike. We have a lot of gay couples who have children in our coalition. They definitely do not want this age-inappropriate crap being peddled on their children. Black families damn sure don't. White families, it is a universal. It is inappropriate. If they were trying to take gay teenagers and trying to coerce them into being heterosexual, it would equally be inappropriate. And in fact, no one's sexuality it should be the topic of conversation. And why in the hell is the government? The government is trying to change the gender of our children. Why the hell is that going on? That should be the question.
Yeah.
It's not that they're actually trying to change the genders. I could list it out, but I'll probably get the channel shut down. So I won't, but let's just say it's follow the money. Seriously, follow the money.
Indeed.
One of the things she touched the point upon too is, like, the reason I don't support the LGBTQ community is because anybody that talks about the LGBTQ community anymore, they're talking about an ideology and not individuals. And every individual that I know that is gay, lesbian, transgendered, or bisexual, right? They all fucking hate this shit, and it doesn't represent them. That's why I don't support it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
I have so many questions. I mean, like, for starters, why is anyone still sending their child into this? Because they don't know, right? I mean, would you say that it's just not enough people know? So everybody watching this, there are 30 people right now who are watching this. There need to be 300 people. And I'm not saying that to toot my horn or even Sloan's. We need, if you know somebody, not just in North Carolina, but certainly and especially in North Carolina, if you know somebody with a child in school under the age of 10, okay, basically below fifth grade and below, where they're likely, as Sloan said, going to be either bullied or coerced or suggested into answering questions that someone else is going to write down because they're not answering it themselves, you have got to get this information to them, because these parents need to make a decision. They can't make a good decision for their children if they don't know what's going on. And then after that, I guess it's up to them. But they're right now, if they're taking their kids to school, it's probably because they just don't know. And kids above that, you need to get with your kids and you need to tell them what's going on. They can't answer these questions.
Well, I have a couple of things to say. First of all, it begins in kindergarten. Second of all, I mean, the parents don't know, and they've been told so much crap by the left. But also, even if, listen to me, we talked about this before, even if we do believe that we would never have our kid in schools or whatever, I mean, this is a matter of gross human rights abuse at the hands of our own government. And we, in this country, we do not allow that. We do not sit back where our government does that. Just as loud as we've been, castigating the government, and quite appropriately for Afghanistan, and the mass human rights abuses that under our government we're allowing because of the way we pulled out. Just the same as that, right in our own backyard, we have no right to complain about that unless we're going to fight this. This is right underneath our nose. I mean, this is the government using medication to propagate groupthink.
Now, can they give the kids the medication without the parents' consent?
Yeah.
So they're going to be giving benzos to children without the parents' knowledge or consent?
Yeah. I mean, the way the statute is written, to be clear, is that treatment for mental health issues, treatment. So treatment can mean...
These people are not clinicians.
No, they're not
clinicians.
But to be fair, in the state of North Carolina, as it is everywhere, a doctor would have to prescribe that. But again, if you've got via Zoom these woke clinicians who are writing the initial script, I mean, the question becomes, who is able to medicate them in school?
Well, you know what? I'll go with that, because I had a child in a medical situation. It was this medical psychological situation, and I was shocked at how easy it was. And I'm not saying I wanted this or did this, here. But I was
the most
pressured.
Ridiculous part about this, right? So if you go to a doctor and they give you a diagnosis that you don't agree with, you get the option to get a second opinion. And it sounds like this completely skips that.
Yeah,
doesn't even go to the parents to take it to a different doctor to say, yeah, like, based on all this, that doctor's full of shit, and like your kid's not gender dysphoric, they're just depressed.
And trust me, government shrinks work for the government. They don't work for
exactly, right? Like it creates a perversion.
Government shrinks diagnose people the way the government tells them to.
Yeah, I mean, I of course, right? They might really believe it, but it's because de facto, like, the government's only going to hire the people that are going to do what they want, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
This is one of those things where, like, I have to remind people, it doesn't take a nefarious doctor. It just takes a government that's only going to hire a doctor that completely agrees with them and will never revolt.
Well, and that's what's so insidious about this shit, is that the people are being paid to do this, and the lucrative nature. I mean, come on, man. The reason that this shit is getting pushed forward is because of money. All right, and the deal is that
I've explained this.
What?
It's a combination of money and true believers.
Well, no. But the money is the mechanism that makes the government work, right? The money is what greases the government up and greases the school system up, right? The ideology and all that shit, that's free, right? You find
no. I understand, right? Like, the true believers, they wouldn't be supported if it wasn't for the fact that there's money behind it, and there might be money.
Has money.
Do you know where most of the hormone therapy is coming from for the transgender movement in America right now?
Is it Pfizer?
I'm not sure which company, but I know what it comes from.
What?
Adolescent and barely adult Uyghur Muslims. Those aren't synthetic hormones. That's why they're so cheap.
I've not heard that, and that is insane.
My daughter came to me in tears, freaking out, and I went and verified it, and it's true.
So,
That is death and genocide being spread around the world to make big pharma money.
so I actually thought, like, you guys have seen me, man. I'm as burly of a man as you're gonna get, right? But when I was in like 5, 6, 7-ish age range, I used to watch things like Care Bears, and I liked Rainbow Bright.
Okay.
Do you remember Rainbow Bright?
Yes.
My dad fucking hated that. I liked Rainbow Bright. And my dad is actually not the manliest of men. And my mom, like, he would always, because Betamax was around then when I was that age. I remember he would say you can't rent that at the video store because it's Betamax. And he was lying. Anyway. So he thought it was a girly thing to like Rainbow Bright. And it probably was, but I was like 5, 6, or 7. You know why I liked Rainbow Bright or the Care Bears? It's the same reason I grew up to be into fucking comic books and superheroes. Right? I was a little kid and all I saw was like, I don't give a shit that she's shooting fucking rainbows. Those rainbows are fucking shit up, right? Like, she was a superhero to me. I was fine with it. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Same thing with like the Care Bears, right? Like, they're pretty fucking gay, but hey, man, the Care Bears care. They kill the bad guy. Like, that's what I was into. Man's cautious with me. Rainbow Bright was the shit. I love that show. So I just
had
wonder,
a Rainbow Bright doll.
I just wonder, like, if I put that on these surveys that my dad didn't want me to have Rainbow Bright, they're gonna be like, they're denying their trans kid.
Yeah, they would be. You have no idea. My daughter's a tomboy. My teenager is a tomboy. She's all girl, but she's interested in guy stuff, and she's very rough and tumble. Shocked, right? Shocker there. But up here, adults will tell her she's trans more than anything else. Are you sure you're not trans? You sure to act trans. She's just a tomboy.
It's like amazing. I didn't think that my gender determined what I can or cannot be into. Like, it's actually so regressive when you really think about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling people, oh, it turns out you're not actually a woman because you don't do woman things. It's just a social construct, right? Like, you don't fall into the category anymore. So we're going to slot you here. I've always thought it's so, like, ass backwards for what they claim to be doing, right? Like, oh, it's all about individuals identifying as how they choose. And I was like,
No, it's
like,
not.
why can't you be a woman that just kind of likes doing things that other women don't like to do?
Squatch, love that show.
Like, amazing that you're a unique and interesting individual. There must be something wrong with you. Here, take these hormone blockers. Try being a man for a while.
It's well, okay. Yeah, and it's not like this is a new idea with these people because oh, never mind. I don't want to talk about it. It's so goddamn stupid. This isn't the gender role thing is still stuck in government where it isn't stuck in society. It's it's really, really weird because there's like even government assistance programs if you're like a single parent, especially if you're a single mom and you go to apply for a grant or a program to assist with your education. Now, I don't know how it is now because this was like well over 20 years ago. But when I went to go apply, I wanted to be a mechanic. And I went to go apply for the program to be a mechanic. And the state straight told me, oh, no, you're a woman. You're not allowed to get this degree. They told me that. The state told me that.
Yeah, if you really think about it, the way they treat genders very differently when it comes to the legal system, like marital status, like they're just treated very differently. for better or worse, like I'm not even going to take a position on that here. That's not where we're here to do. But it turns out, like in our legal system, most people agree that there's gender differences between, especially in relationships, the male and the female, and that we've kind of come to the conclusion that on certain issues, we're going to favor the female. Right or wrong, that's just kind of how the law's written. So obviously, like legally, we still understand gender roles, or else none of those laws would exist.
Yeah, but it's kind of odd that that was ever a gender role, considering who built all the goddamn planes and munitions for World War II, Excel?
Women.
So why would we say women can't be auto mechanics 40 years later?
No, that's ridiculous. I was talking about now, though.
Oh, I was just talking about like how
like,
long this
immediately now.
stupidity has been stuck in the government, as opposed to being like what society actually is. And that's the problem is,
I mean,
the government's still moving at the speed of government, and society already got over this shit.
yeah, like I've said a billion times, and like this is absolutely true. Like what did more for like women in the marketplace has been technology, and like less of a desire for like, we have less demand for just straight physical labor, which obviously favors men, right? And more of a marketplace for what I would call high IQ labor, right? Like that's where the money is, and women are doing pretty good in those jobs. Like, sure, they don't top out at the max end. They don't become CEOs nearly as often. And
Well,
there's
that's
a reason
because
for that
most
too. It makes a lot of sense because most women
want to have
prefer their
kids.
leisure time, or they want to have kids. Like they don't want to work 80-hour work weeks for 10 fucking years before they get that job.
Right.
Yeah. But, I disagree with having so many women in the workforce as it is. I think that's bad for humanity, and it's bad for any kind of society. I don't care what level it's at, first, second, third, or whatever. I think when you don't have a parent that stays home with the child, be it mother or father, I don't care, but you have to have a parent home that is there interacting with your children, and that has to be their focus, because that's how much effort it takes to properly raise children.
So we're so far away.
Kathy!
We're so far away from that argument, though. Like, just like,
Hey, Kathy.
because we're not even. They've moved past like what you just said by like fucking miles, right? Like you're at the train station and the train's already darted past and fell off a bridge somewhere, right?
No.
We're at this point. No. Right now we're at a point where just suggesting that, hey, if you just want to be a stay-at-home mom, totally
I
fine.
know.
Like you're not allowed. Like that is a sexist position. Just to say, if you think that is a good route for you, like there's nothing wrong with it. It's great for the kids. It turns out it's a system that works. If you just say that like it's an okay choice, you are condemned as some sort of misogynist.
Only if you're male. If a woman says it, then you're you hate women. But I don't understand, because psychologically,
what is the equivalent for Uncle Tom for women that are not feminist?
Karen.
what's the name for the what?
Yeah, the uncles. Like, right, so
The traitors
yeah,
to feminism.
yeah, the traitors to feminism, women that just rebuke it and
Trophy
decide
wife.
to be. Okay, like, is there a
Trad
word?
thoughts?
You know what? They need to come up
Trad
with a
thoughts,
word.
but
They need to
trophy
come up with
wives.
They need to come up with like a real word for that.
Well, stay-at-home mom. They say that rather derisively.
Yeah, well, I'm just
Okay,
saying
it's
now,
just stay-at-home
so-
mom. You're right. It's just another fucking stay-at-home
What
mom.
what- right.
I was telling Excel. He
Oh.
had an assignment
She's a
for next
subject
week.
to a patriarchy.
Yeah. Well, they say, I don't care. I don't care. If somebody wants to get mad at me for staying at home with my kids, I'm only going, what, you just fucking jealous because I have more fucking pride and backbone, and I'll just do what I fucking want, and I don't care what nobody says. Thanks. Like, I get all pissed off at them because I think it's stupid. We have too many women in the workforce, in my opinion. We don't have enough women staying home and being mothers, which they are biologically driven to do. And we got to stop ignoring the laws of nature because it's making people crazy. Look at our fucking society.
who are writing the initial script. I mean, the question becomes, who is able to medicate them in school?
Well, you know what? I'll go with that because I had a child in a medical situation. It was this medical psychological situation, and I was shocked at how easy it was. And I'm not saying I wanted this or did this, but I was pressured. And then the clinician, because of COVID and everything, was meeting with my daughter over Zoom. All right. And she was, 14 years old. So they said, you shouldn't be in the sessions all the time. It's important for her to have her privacy to be in the sessions. And next thing I know, I'm like, go pick up your prescription at this, pharmacy. And I'm like, oh, for what? And I had to do my own research, looking at the bottles and researching this. And I got on with the clinician one day. I said, this appointment I'm coming to. And he said to her, I said, I want her off these medications. And I want to know, what is the process for weaning off? She spent the entire session trying to talk me out of that. I'd done all my research. And I'm like, I know what this is doing to my child. And I see what it's doing to her. And you're destroying my child before my very eyes. And she's coming off of this. And I'm going on record right now that you dare. You're not having another session with my kid. So I know from personal experience how easy it was. When I was actually seeking treatment for my kid, how they go and they treat, but then they go, okay, we're going to send medicine. Go have your mommy pick it up.
Hey, look.
My 14-year-old kid.
So it's basically the same as the medical industrial complex for state-based insurances, where it's just how many pills can we dole out? I mean, that seems like what it is are we seeing like a conglomeration of like a dozen corporations actually running the fucking world?
Yes.
This is kind of fucking freaky, guys. Because it seems like everything we're having a problem with in our society right now somehow ties back to Big Pharma.
Well, and so yeah, so the worst is, and this is something James Lindsay predicted was coming around the corner, and goddamn, he was fucking right again, is that we're living in the age of medical Lysenkoism. And so, so Lysenko was like Stalin's like agriculture person who just applied communist principles to agriculture instead of real science, right? And I'm not going to speak about the pandemic and how this may or may not apply, because obviously Susan's completely right about everything, and we should trust what she says about who we should listen to. But you look at this and what they're talking about, like it's medical Lysenkoism. Right. It's not about the actual medicine or the science or whatever. It's about fitting the science we know into this ideology and throwing out anything that does not fit the ideology.
So literally the Great Leap Forward?
Yeah, I guess.
Cultural revolution, a little both.
But by the way, I talked to Irate. So usually, like, now that we're doing this on Wednesdays especially, try to limit it to about 2 hours. I know there's So this is only a 45-minute interview. And we've been going on for
16 left.
an hour and 45 minutes. So there's no way we're going to get through the rest of it. So my suggestion is we just chat amongst ourselves for a little bit. And if you guys want to watch the rest of this, go watch it on Deb's channel. Like, just check out the last 15 minutes. I know there's more good talking points to be had.
And she is talking to all kinds of people right now, man. She's usually putting something up, if not every day, every other day. So it's prolific and grossly undersubbed.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome because she's more sub than us, and she actually joined us for a stream. That was really cool of her.
Yeah. She's
You guys go back, you see the Deb Filming stream. You actually get to see me and Atima on camera. I know Atima's on camera a lot, but I'm never
Not
on
anymore.
camera.
I will be again eventually, but
That's right.
I got some stuff to
Heard
fix.
sexy
The
Sorry.
biggest reason is I don't have an actual
That's
camera
right.
on my PC. Like, I don't actually give a shit to show my face. Like, I had to, in order to do that, I had to, like, rig up my laptop in front of my PC stuff, which, because my laptop has a camera. It's actually a really good camera, too. I was very surprised. I guess I could just buy a camera, but I honestly don't care enough.
Right?
I have a $35 webcam. I bought it at Fry's before they went out of business.
Apparently, you're muted to the rest of the stream, all right?
Yeah, no, I found out that I was muted, and the part that got muted was me talking about how the cycle industry works now. And so what I was saying, people, is basically shrinks or you meet a person that'll do your screening, okay, and then that person will make a cursory, like, rule out diagnosis. They, it's not a diagnosis they're making. They're telling the shrink, this is what I saw, right? The shrink gets it. They meet with the person, and then they immediately put them on meds. All right, and that's it for the shrink. All right, and the rest is, you're seeing somebody that's that's a licensed therapist, or a social worker, somebody like that for the talking part of the therapy. But all psychiatrists are doing really now in the business is prescribing, medication management, treat them and screen them, right? Usually a shrink can see, last time I was, checked out around on it, they were seeing people for 15 minutes. It was $60 a pop, and they were seeing 4 people an hour, right?
Fuck.
Ridiculous. Like, if you're suffering from psychiatric issues and they don't offer cognitive therapy, maybe it's going to be in conjunction with medication. Like, maybe there's a plan.
Well,
Maybe
no, that's
you
what
need
I
medication.
yeah, a lot of times they'll do, if you get assigned the right person, you will. Right? Everybody.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. If they don't bring up the fact that cognitive therapy is a strong option, and they don't suggest that, and, like, maybe you are on some sort of medication for a little bit if you're having real issues. 'Cause I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to be like, fucking, sorry to bring up Tom Penoid, but he's just like, yeah, those aren't real disorders. And I'm just like, that's amazing coming from somebody that doesn't know what it's like.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, if they don't at least offer some sort of cognitive therapy option and just say that your only option is to take the pills, then they're incorrect. There's plenty of cognitive therapy options that can potentially, they don't work for everybody, of course, but they can work for some people. And sometimes it's in conjunction with medication, right? Like, I'm not against better living through chemistry. I think a lot of people need it. Like, I take a 0.5 milligram of a benzo. It's clonazepam. It's a very small dose every night because I have an anxiety disorder, and it still bites me in the ass sometimes. But since I've been on that, it's helped me. It's also such a low dose that the long-term consequences are negligible. It's not even worse than a night of drinking. But, like, if they were going to say, oh, your anxiety is so bad, we're going to pump you up to, like, the max dosage, which is, like, I talked about a 0.5 milligram, which is 7 a day, and just make me a zombie, I'd be like, fuck you guys. I wouldn't fucking take that shit.
Well, she did say they were prescribing antipsychotics. And
that's what scares
those
me.
usually zombify your ass.
Well,
Yeah, like depending on what they are and the dosage, and I just have a feeling with kids because it's so much fucking easier
Well, it's
to
better
give
that
them.
we're out of the fucking Thorazine, generation of drugs and haloperidol. We're at least in a generation of drugs that's a little more or a little less
brain damaging,
side effecty. If you know what I'm saying.
Uzi is exactly right. Meds are not a cure; it's a tool to manage the disorder.
Here.
See, and that's my sister. They put her on meds all throughout high school. She went off to college, and she didn't want to do the meds anymore, and they took her off of them, and everything was fine. But then her brain broke while she was in college. We don't know why. I think it was bad drugs, but she's like totally messed up and has some crazy shit now, and she'll never be able to live completely unattended anymore. And I think a lot of it has to do with them putting her on a bunch of shit when she was a teen.
Yeah.
There's so much neurobiological change when you're a teenager.
Dude.
Your brain is doing so much shit.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's absolutely true, and it's
Your nervous
Like,
system does not finish growing until the age of around 25 years old.
Yeah.
And that includes the brain. Hello. And a lot of people just don't realize that. And, and it's like in my today brain, I would advise my younger self to not start experimenting with substances until after that age. But
Yeah.
hey, hindsight's 50-50, as Pat Dye would say. So.
I like that one.
Yeah.
like one of the points I was getting to, though. It's so much easier with a kid, especially young kids, because like for the longest time, and I think the medical profession is finally catching up to this at least a little bit. Not as well as it should be, but the overprescribing of ADHD medication.
Yeah.
Right, because all that does is just give your brain like a giant dopamine stimulation. So
Okay.
of course somebody writing on the chalkboard's fucking interesting.
Man with a poor
Your eyes fuck.
Okay, so I'm gonna simplify this, and I'm sure Irate's gonna come in and tell me my simplicity is wrong, but pretty much everybody under the age of about 10 has hyperactivity. So if you give them coffee or a stimulant, neurochemically speaking, their bodies will react the same as if you had given it to an ADHD or a hyperactive mind. It does the opposite of what it does to a neurotypical mind in a hyperactive mind. Like coffee slows down a crazy mind. Like right now, I need more coffee and it shows. It slows down a fast mind, where if like I smoke pot, that'll speed me up a little bit because I have the hyperkinesis, right? But with little kids under 10, their neurochemistry is the same, where if you give them a cup of coffee, it generally chills them out. And that kind of, so we also have that doctors don't seem to be not aware of, but it doesn't seem to be because like when I was younger, when my oldest daughter was younger, when my husband was younger, when my son was younger, the doctor said, oh, you have a hyper one there. Give them some coffee before they go to school. And that would smooth you out, and that's all you needed. And they replaced that.
I need to thank Gunfox real quick, $2.
Oh, shit.
2 minutes of hate here. Dumbass pedo Joe on truckers work for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Plus 18-year-olds behind the wheel get work visas for Mexicans to drive. Both had ideas, both bad ideas, because who drive like shit, and who also head doctors. Oh, just take these meds. Thanks, Gunfox. $2.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. I just.
Oh no, it's fine. I was just going off about the whole. It's the the neuroplasticity of a young mind, and when you start interjecting these chemicals into it, you break them. And we don't know what the long term is. And we have people just shoveling chemicals and this horrible shit, and we're just letting schools do this. Nobody's fighting back.
Especially in like some of the dosages that they give these kids, right? Like fucking a parent that had a 10-year-old that was giving them, that was taking 10 milligrams of Adderall a day.
Holy
Like,
shit!
if I took, so 20 milligrams is the adult dose, usually, right? From what I remember in college. And 20, like, I would take a half at a time, and I'd just be like, eyes wide open, pupils dilated, and like...
See, that was inappropriate diagnosis
study.
and prescription then. Because you were
Like,
getting,
it just... No, I was taking it. I was... Fuck. All right, come on, man. I didn't get it prescribed to me. Like,
you were studying. I get it.
Don't pretend. I'm on the same boat as you are. I probably shouldn't have done all those drugs in my 20s.
Well, see, back in the day, it was Ritalin, you know?
Fuck, dude, I started way earlier than y'all. I was in my teens when I started doing all that crazy shit.
Yeah. Well,
I'm like 14.
God.
So in other words, if you don't like our expertise, at least taking our experience. We've all taken drugs, and it's fucked us up.
Yeah. Just remember,
Vaguely.
youth is wasted on the young.
No, it's not.
I,
If I had the ability to be youthful right now, you know how many charges I'd get. I'm so intolerant to stupid.
I feel you. I truly feel that. So, okay, if you want to finish the depth filming thing, all right, we got the links right down there to her. Go ahead and subscribe to her YouTube. It's called The Reason We Learn, and the link is right underneath to subscribe to depth film is The Reason We Learn. So I guess it's time to kind of get a wrappy uppy, and what's coming up for everybody?
Well, I'm not sure. My teenager seems very, very scared of the show she's been begging me to do now that we're coming up on starting to do our model rendering and things. So I don't know how long we're going to be waiting on that. Dentist has told me it's probably going to take me like a year or two to get everything totally fixed so I can replace my front tooth with apparently a not real one, because apparently this tooth is not fixable anymore. So I'm just going to start doing videos again. I'm over it. Whatever. I'll figure it out. I'll wing it. You know what I mean? So probably, hopefully in the next couple weeks, I'll get the motivation, or not the motivation. What's the word I'm looking for? The muse strikes. Inspiration. Inspiration. I'll get the inspiration. Something will fire me up, and I'll make a video since I figured out how to use OBS.
Video.
That's not happening with me. I will not be posting any of my own videos. There's still a reason I pawned off the show idea that I had with Tima onto iRate's channel. It's going to stay here long after I'm gone. And as far as what's coming up for me, I just got a promotion at work. Everybody can sit there, yay, clap, go Excel, you got a promotion at work. I'm already behind on my work and knee deep in shit, and all it really means is they're just going to throw more shit on me.
Yeah, that's all that means.
Sure, but I'm not exactly excited about it, because I'd almost give them back the money to be like, how about I just give back that money and like a little bit more, and then I don't have to do as much work? That'd be great. Fortunately, that is not how the corporate world works. So,
well, congratulations anyway, man. You know,
I'm not really bitching. I'm kind of bitching, but like, you know, I'll take what I got. But I'm gonna be fucking busy for fucking.
Yeah, kind of am. Yeah, I feel you, dude.
He's grinning and bitching, is what we used to say.
Grinning and bitching. Yep.
Grinning and bitching.
I'm a grinning, I'm a bitching. I was picking and grinning in
I
that.
think Gun Fox is in the same position. Got it. Gun Fox, you get a promotion at work where it was just like, yeah, they're gonna pay you more, but they're also gonna throw so much more extra shit on your plate you don't even think it's worth it.
Everybody hit a 1 in the chat if you've seen Hee Haw. That's random shit.
Shut up! Don't make fun of me, god damn it!
No, I'm talking about picking and grinning. I'm a picking
and grinning. That's what I was talking. There's a bitching and grinning, picking and grinning. I'm sorry, that's where I got it from.
Yeah, he all jams. I had a friend that was. You remember when it was I don't even know if y'all remember this, but there was a point where they used to do the school thing with actual kids, instead of like, the actors like, Lulu and fucking Junior Samples and all those assholes, right? But a friend of mine from school that Catholic school I went to in Nashville was one of the kids on there for that year. I know. And why is Irate bringing this shit up? I don't know.
You were asking about Hee Haw.
Yeah, we were talking about him, but I was just, yeah, there you go. Got some ones in there. I know Aunt Kathy. Speaking of, Aunt Kathy and I will be hanging out Sunday afternoon. She's awesome, always awesome to talk to. So we're going to probably try to explore some different areas and have a really killer conversation like last time. It was off the chain. I had a ball with her. Friday night, of course, we're doing the CS. Last hour on Odyssey to do the stuff that Susan doesn't like, right? So
right,
yeah, I'm trying to not get struck, fam. Just saying. And
oh yeah, I remember. I will be putting on BitChute. We will be putting shit up on BitChute. You have your Friday night Creem stream.
Yeah. I'm forgetting. Oh yeah. I'll be on. I should be on the Brian Press's Star Trek thing Saturday, because Bama's got an 11 o'clock kickoff, so a.m. this time. So, and hopefully they can beat Mississippi State. We'll just see. I don't know. People be doubtful. But on that note, I don't know. I've got nothing else to say about this stuff. What about y'all?
I need to do some more reading, and I need to actually be able to sit down and look at more of the full education thing, so I can have more full body commentary. So hopefully I'll be able to read some stuff this upcoming week.
I play Final Fantasy and watch that Harrison Burger on, like we talked about. So you know what? If anybody wants to join one of Irate's public channels on his Discord, which I think is shared, I'll be doing that. Come, feel free to hang out with me and watch it.
I may not be here, but
offers out there. If nobody shows up in 15 minutes, I'm leaving.
Fair enough. All right, and on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. What about y'all?
Yeah, later.
Yeah. Goodbye.